Hi everyone and welcome to the second episode of RuinCast, your Heroes of Ruin podcast. I am a voice you've not heard before, in that I am not Mike, I'm Kevin, I'm your new community manager. Mike regenerated Doctor Who style into me, so you've got me from now on. Joining me from the last show...
It's just a euphemism, that was.
Oh yeah, very much so. Joining me from the last show and from newly profiled on the Heroes of Ruin website, where he is now super popular everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and is on the bedroom walls of girls up and down the country. It's Alastair,
literally like Spider-Man, not posters. I just hang out there and like to watch. Don't tell the FBI, it's fine.
Thanks, designer. And we've actually got a third voice with us today, and we have Luke Willoughby.
Hello.
You're our assistant brand manager on this, I believe.
Yeah, so working on all the brand materials, all the creative stuff, so the artwork you see, logos, website, been working on all of that. So
you only get the big names, the really important people on RuinCast. Like us. Okay, lots of questions from you guys in the forums after the last show. Glad you enjoyed it, by the way. And we've got lots to go through today. So let's kick it off, shall we? There's been a lot of chat about a number of things, specifically the Facebook interaction on the website, so I'll address that first. Lots of people asking, I've missed out on the Facebook-related XP achievement on the Heroes of Ruin site. Does this mean I miss out on the Wall of Champions? Yeah, sorry, we've had some problems with that. It is being looked into. Do not worry, you will not miss out on Wall of Champions. There will be something else put in, XP-wise, that will enable you to get the full amount and get on Wall of Champions. So don't worry about that. Of course, what Wall of Champions will get you, you'll have to wait and see, of course.
Respect, prestige,
Yeah,
women, fast cars, none of the above. Who knows? Probably not fast cars.
No.
I'm not paying for fast cars. Luke, do you want to pay for fast cars?
I'll go with fast women.
Okay, you start the fast women. I'm not sorting any of the rest of it out. I can't afford fast cars for people.
No. Okay, one of the questions we are getting asked a lot is, will there be clans in any form? Al,
Yeah, okay, so not in a traditional sense. So the way we do handle our people who play together regularly, but we do it in a interesting new way. So we've got a kind of friendship levelling system, which sits separate from the regular levelling up system. And what happens is when you play with people, it recognises the people that you play with most, and the more you play together, the more kind of XP you gain together, the more hours you adventure together. It kind of builds up this friendship meter, and you'll go from through different stages. So you might go from being a kind of an acquaintance to a friend to a cohort to an ally, whatever the various stages are named. And as you go up in those stages, you can be given unique items which you can only get via friendship levelling. So you'll be able to kind of see the people that you adventure with most. They'll have kind of special names for the different levels of kind of friendship or alliance, if you like. And you'll even have cool new gear that you can't get any other way other than playing regularly with the same people. So not clans per se, but we do kind of recognise who you play with and reward that and track that.
So there is a distinct advantage to going with people on a regular basis.
Yes, yeah. And we're even trying to see if we can get any other kind of synergies in there if you play together regularly with the same kind of people. Cool. And apologies to people out there in Radio Land if I'm speaking fast, but we are doing this from some kind of cryogenically frozen chamber. So
it's the result of the regeneration. I'm sorry.
So if I don't speak fast enough and get out of here, then I'm afraid I'll be preserved for future generations, which wouldn't be fair on current generations. So.
But we'll be able to use you in any future sequel.
That's true. That is true.
I'm just embarrassed you said synergy.
Oh well, it's a good word. No,
we'll keep the business speak down. Don't worry.
Synergy's where it's at, man. Let's ring fence that synergy and double click it later.
Synergy's key to the game. Well, the other questions are you considering PvP, player versus player action in Heroes of Ruin?
We did consider it, but what we want to do with Heroes of Ruin is hopefully obviously launch a whole new franchise, and so that's something that we'd certainly look at again in any sequel or sequels. to Heroes of Ruin. But for the first game, nope, there will be no PvP. It's co-op only. And I can probably jump in and answer another question there. Someone was asking if they're kind of if you can hurt other players at all. I don't know why you want to do that in a co-op game.
Why is the first question that person asking that? Can you hurt the others?
Can I hurt and steal from everyone else?
Can I have friendly fire on, please?
So for all sociopaths out there, no, there's no friendly fire. And given, I mean, when you see the game in action, you see the kind of crazy spells and abilities, and I mean, like the Vindicator's got an ability, for example, called the Shockwave, which just sends out this rolling wall of fire across the screen, and it'd be very hard to kind of play together and cooperate if there was any kind of PvP or friendly fire on there. So there won't be any of that. There are some things, for example, you can. I think we talked about this last time, but if you nip in and grab the gold before someone else, although it'll be split between the party, you'll still get a finder's fee for being kind of quick off the market and getting there first. And that sort of thing can also go for kind of potions and loot. But there's no traditional PvP. This is a cooperative game, folks. Cooperate. Play nice.
Okay. One of the other things that was being talked about a lot on the forum was the discussion about how Heroes of Ruin sort of sits as a game. And so specifically, is it classed as an MMO or not?
No, it's not an MMO. So it's up to 4 players. Which is obviously, I don't know, not massive. Unless those players are really tall, or maybe enormously fat. Then I don't know, maybe it could be massively multiplayer. But no, 4 players, and that's online play or local play. So no, not an MMO. I can see why people think that. I mean, you can gain levels, gain in power. There are an awful lot of items and gear to find. So over 80,000 kind of items, gear, and weapons. I can clarify another question that we've been asked while I'm on that subject. So some people are saying, are there 80,000 weapons? There aren't. There are over 80,000 items. So that's a kind of mixture of weapons, armour, belts, rings, amulets, things like that. So the whole shebang together is over well over 80,000. So not just weapons.
Still a crazy amount.
It is a crazy amount, yeah. And it leads to some really unique kind of combinations, both visually and gameplay wise, for your chosen character, which is something we'll probably come on to a bit later on in this podcast, probably, and talk about how different you can be from one another.
Okay, speaking of that and classes specifically, can Crash from the forums ask, can we combine different classes and races together, or is each class set to a specific character? Can 2 of the same character be in the same game for online play?
Okay, I'll answer that question backwards because I'm difficult like that. So you can have any kind of party makeup that you want when you play together. So if you want to play as all gunslingers or all savages or all architects, you can do that. You can have any mixture you want. So there's no limits on that. Again, I think I probably talked about it a lot in the first podcast, but we wanted to kind of break down barriers to multiplayer play. So we didn't ever want to say, no, you guys can't play together because you're excessively different levels, or because someone's already got that character class picked, or anything like that. So we wanted to remove all those barriers. So you can absolutely play with any party makeup that you like. And so the first part of that, so the classes are tied to the races, but within that there's such a heavy level of customization that one of our goals is kind of, if you were to pick, let's say even four level 4 Vindicators, let's say, just picking a kind of level out of the air, that not only would they look very different from the initial customization that you do, but then also as you play the game, all the kind of larger armor parts that you pick up, like shoulder pieces, leg pieces, gauntlets, breastplates, etc., they all show up visually on the character and are visually distinct. And that goes for weapons as well. So you'll also look different beyond your initial customization based on all the gear you found. And of course, with over 80,000 pieces, it's very unlikely that you're going to have equipped the same stuff as someone else. There's also a kind of player colour that you can choose on top of that. So someone asked if you can recolour your kind of armour or customise it in any way. So there's a player colour that you can choose, and so even if you did look fairly similar, you could have a sort of different player colour. And what I mean by player colour is there are certain areas on armour, certain kind of what do you call it? not like the main armour colour, just kind of frills and extra
sort of like
detailing and
cape or shoulder.
things like that.
Things like that.
Basic kind of details and highlights, and your player colour affects those on your armour types. That's kind of another layer of customisation and differentiation. And all of that I've talked about so far is visual, but beyond that, they also have gameplay effects. So obviously the different weapons and armour you have will give you different strengths and weaknesses. So as a Vindicator, you might have chosen to really push on kind of energy regeneration, have loads of energy for your special attacks, and you might have increased your equipped weapons and armour that increase your might to make all those attacks more powerful. Or you might have concentrated on defence and kind of soaking up damage. And then beyond that, there's even a further level of customisation, and this is all kind of gameplay-wise, where as you level up, you get to assign points to some of your basic stats, things like your might, your energy, your vigour, which kind of determine how damaging you are, how much health you have, your energy reserves and how quickly they replenish. But there's also a deep skill tree system, and everyone's got 3 branches to their skill trees, which kind of take them in different directions, either, I don't know, more towards being defensive or more towards damaging abilities or crowd control or healing. It very much depends on the character class. And within that, you can pick new abilities or you can rank up existing abilities. So again, by the time you look at those level 4 Vindicators, they're going to look very different, play very different, have different strengths and weaknesses, and have different abilities from one another. So although classes are kind of locked to races, there's so much customization and differentiation within that hopefully people won't kind of care by the time they've customised their character to play the way they want it to.
So Crash and Baisley, I think you've probably got as full an answer there as you could possibly hope to have.
Waffling on and on and on, yeah.
There's loads of information in there, so I'm sure the forums will pick over that extensively. Simbus Supreme, which is a fantastic name, says, in response to the recent announcement of Sasha Putnam's being the game's composer, can we hear a sample of the game's music in the podcast? Not just yet, but a little bit down the line, we'll see if we can do that, actually. Get a nice little exclusive for you if you keep listening in. We'll have a word with Sasha and see if we can arrange that. Actually, another question is that tied into that, which is a general question that we had following the first one, was the opening music to RuinCast.
The drums of doom.
The fantastic rumbling music. Is that actually from Heroes of Ruin? And unfortunately, no, it's not.
It's exclusive to the podcast.
It's exclusive to the podcast.
Yeah.
It's actually some royalty-free music.
They don't need to know that. Keep it down.
But it sounds good, and it sounds good. It's now the theme, and we'll stick with it. Stripeless says, I'm curious about how the bottom screen of the 3DS is going to be utilised. Will it be touch-based commands, or will it be reserved for a map?
Yes and yes. So I'll expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, if we can.
So it's not a kind of heavily touch-based game. So the bottom screen does have an area. It's not really reserved for a map because it's a very flexible screen, but very often you'll be referring to the bottom screen to see the map. Then it's easy to see kind of where you've been, also see where your buddies are, and some other kind of key information that will be shown on the map. So that's mostly what we'll be using it for. But it also has, you can also use the touchscreen to go through any kind of menus. And there are some kind of quick, basically we kind of streamline things as much as we can with the gameplay, and I'll explain what I mean about that, because streamline does not mean dumbed down, stripped down, or having things removed. So I'll give you a really clear example of how we use the touchscreen. When you have player abilities, which you gain as you level up and you take them from your skill tree, they need to be mapped to the buttons, to the A, Y, and X buttons. So you can have kind of 3 of those active at any one time. Now, if you want to remap that, you get a new ability, or you want to, you're in a certain situation about to fight a boss, or in a certain area where you want a different tactical setup of your kind of abilities, then you can either go the long route and kind of open a menu, go into your ability, go into your skill tree and remap the abilities to the various buttons yourself, Or there are touch screens always down the side of the bottom screen, and you simply tap those to toggle and cycle quickly through your ability, so you can do it without going to a menu at all. So that's what I mean by streamlined. It hasn't been removed. You can still do it through menus if you want to, but we also, to keep you in the action, to keep it quick, you can very quickly toggle. And that can be very useful because I'll take an example ability. The Vindicator's got an ability called Sacred Circle, which is a very cool useful co-op ability where he creates a kind of healing circle on the ground, and anyone who stands within that, including himself, will start to heal up. So that's the kind of thing that you might want to quickly toggle to when the party's kind of a bit dinged up and a bit damaged. But then afterwards, you might want to quickly switch it to a more damaging ability to cause a bit of carnage. And again, to keep it quick, you can just simply tap on that button, toggle to your new ability, and keep going and keep playing. Another example which people have probably heard about of that kind of streamlining is a quick equipping items or quick selling items. So if you stand over an item on the ground, you can simply press up on the D-pad to put it straight on, or press down to sell it. So if you don't want it kind of clogging up your inventory. But for those people who do want to manage their inventory, take things back to the shop and sell them for a bit more cash, or they want to kind of really browse an item and understand all the ins and outs of what it does before they put it on, you can still open a menu, go in through there, see all these details. So again, streamlining, it's not kind of dumbing down or removal or anything else. It's just a way that if you want to stay in the action and keep it fast and keep the tempo up, then you can. Because with these kind of games, there's often that point where everyone's like, oh, can you hang on a minute? I just need to whatever,
go through my inventory,
go through my inventory, manage it. I'm carrying too much. It can slow things down. So we've got streamlined kind of answers to
fluidity.
To all that stuff. Yeah, fluidity. That's a good one.
Thanks. I try.
So, you shouldn't get any Leroy Jenkins moments, basically, where someone just gets impatient.
You never know. There's always someone.
Or there's the other Leroy Jenkins moment, which could potentially happen with the voice chat.
That's true.
I'm not going to go into those details because that was a horrific incident, and we'll have the police on a case.
Actually, Luke, I've got a couple of questions here that perhaps you can answer. Stay says from the forums, what made you guys make the decision to make the game for the 3DS?
I'm happy to talk about this if you're happy to have me talk about it.
Yes.
It was something we were
I don't know. Let's take under consideration.
He's on the podcast for his looks.
It was something we were talking to people at E3 about. Actually, is we don't believe at the moment that we can really effectively make this game for any other platform. The key reason being, the developers are working with N-Space. This kind of is their baby, basically. They've been working on other IP and other franchises for big names for a long time now. They've done the last few Call of Duties on DS, and this is really a game that they've wanted to make for about 8 years or more. Now the 3DS has come along. Obviously, you've got other platforms with the full online capabilities, the voice chat in there. Anyone can jump on a party and those kind of spaces. So you can do that. But what you can't do is all of the cool things we're doing with Street Pass and indeed Spot Pass, things like the Traders Network that we really think is going to revolutionise the way you trade items in these kinds of games. You just can't do that on any other system. It has to be a portable. There's no other portable that does this anyway. So it's really exciting to be able to do these things for the first time ever, and with a team that have wanted to make this project for the best part of a decade. So on top of that, the other things we can do is anyone who's got any other game system is probably used to DLC by now. It's something you see in tons of games. What we really wanted to do with this game is give people, like nice little things for free, but every single day. And this is something that we're going to be pushing out sort of as the game releases, for at least a year afterwards, hopefully more. So you get something new every single day for free, absolutely free from Square Enix. And you don't even have to sign on to, you don't have to turn your 3DS on to get this kind of stuff. You just leave it there charging on the dock. You can get these things as and when we send them through. You get more than one every single day. And at the same time, you don't have to do these things either. So they're nice little extras. But really, these two reasons are, the reason why we went with 3DS for this project. Is a very exciting machine, and we believe it's really going to pick up, and it's very exciting to do it on a system that has new capabilities that nothing else can do yet. So
yeah, I mean the connectivity on it's really, really good. I mean, we can maybe talk just slightly more, just clarify about the kind of the something new every day stuff that we're doing. So that we're really talking there about our daily and weekly challenges, which are kind of ways that will encourage you to sort of replay the game or play the game in a different way, kind of take you out of your comfort zone. So examples of challenges might be to kind of go through a level without healing, or play with a party made up of all one character type, or kill a certain number of a creature in a certain time frame, or just different ways to kind of test yourself. And as I say, take you out of your comfort zone. And the more of those that you complete, the closer you'll get to rewards. So you can actually get items in the game that way by completing enough of our daily and weekly challenges. So that's kind of what we're getting at there.
There's a lot of those as well. So anyone that's on the website really scurrying to get their XP bar full there's going to be, hopefully, what we've aimed for is that there's more. We've taken the people that do everything and we've tried to give them more than they could potentially realistically do. So there's more than you would ever, you're not going to run out of them.
So there we go. I mean, I know a lot of the guys were asking about DLC and things like that. So there you go. More information for you. Let's see. King of Ikana asks, will we be able to save anywhere during single player and resume where we left off, or is there a specific sort of save point system?
So yes and yes. You can. There are regular checkpoints, regular save points will also save, and those are also the points that you'll respawn at if you fall prey to the beasts that roam around, which I know we'll be talking about more later on. But beyond that, if you are, playing on a train or a bus and your stop's arriving, or your friends arrive and you need to stop quickly, you can in single player or multiplayer, because there's really no difference. There's complete content parity between the single player and multiplayer campaigns. You can save and quit at any point, and then when you resume, all the XP you had, the weapons you had, the items you found, etc., will still be there. Any progress you've made towards completing quests will still be there, and you'll probably pop back up at the nearest kind of waystone that you'd found, those regular checkpoints. But you won't lose out on any progress.
Awesome. Viper asks a question that I can probably answer, is there any way we can subscribe to the podcast via RSS? There isn't an RSS feed up yet for the podcast, but that's something that I'll be sorting out in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see if we can get it on iTunes and all those lovely places like that, so you can download it to your iPod or MP3 music device. So yeah, coming soon in short, Viper. Big question from a fair few people on the board, this actually. Relating to King of Ikana's question in a way, will we have multiple game saves on the cart, for example, 4, so we can play each class?
I can't imagine which game sparked off this sort of question recently on the 3DS. The answer is yes, there will be multiple save slots on the cart. There will be at least 4, and they're not kind of locked to a character class, so it's not like there's a Vindicator slot and an Architect slot. You can use them freely. So the reason there's at least 4 is obviously so that you could have one save slot for each class if you wanted to, but if you wanted to run through the game multiple times with over and over with the Savage or something, because again there's so much customization that's completely viable. You could play very, very differently by the end. You can do that too. We didn't want to kind of limit players in that way.
So you can basically set up a Savage as really pro-attacking, or a Savage that's defensive, and then have the 2 particular ones on the card and swap between.
Yep, they wouldn't have to share a slot or anything weird like that. No, so at least 4 slots for you to use as you see fit.
Good news. Hero of Bacon. Which is great.
Awesome.
Hero of Bacon.
Who's my hero?
I think you've won Name of the Week on Name of the Podcast.
He'd get on well with Froglord. And Hero of Bacon. That's double team, supreme.
Will multiplayer be completely cooperative, or... Oh, no, we've had that already.
I totally answered that. Hero of Bacon, you're late to the party.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Sunshine?
You've lost your title already. That was quick. That was about 3 seconds.
Maybe Champion of Bacon or Assistant of Bacon. Yeah. You've been demoted, son.
You need to change that name to Hero of Bacon, like... Only joking.
General question this, which perhaps Luke can answer. When are we going to see a gameplay trailer, Luke?
Yeah.
When are we going to see a gameplay trailer, Luke?
When?
Right, the gameplay trailer is so close now. We've really been putting everything we can into it. When we've been showing the game at E3, you've been working with quite an early version. So we really wanted to show gameplay, when it's ready and when it's when it's looking its best, to be able to show off the game. So that is coming so soon. I can taste it.
What does it taste like? Does it taste like bacon? Or chicken? Everything tastes like chicken. Even bacon tastes like chicken.
Does it taste like success?
I was going to come up with an 80s line, but yeah, I can't think of any.
You failed. You're too young to come up with 80s lines. Leave that to me. Leave it to the professionals.
No, I can't think of anything on the fly. But it's looking nice. So if you can hang on a little bit more.
Hang in there, guys.
Patience, Padawans.
But put it this way: it's look at some of the screenshots, and then imagine them moving.
Okay, so basically we don't need a trailer. You just have to use your imagination.
Alternatively, you could take one of the screenshots, cut out the characters,
and move them
and
around
move them around on a stick, and it's like you've got your own puppet show.
So aren't you glad Luke came there with helpful suggestions like that? Just imagine a moving screenshot.
If anyone wants to make their own sort of trailer in this sense, then I'll personally offer a very special prize for that. So
that would be brilliant.
Take it seriously.
Actually, yeah.
Something up. We will find something like from within the project that maybe it's a bit of concept art or a sketch or something that you can just have. So if someone can do something really cool.
So there we go.
We'll find a prize. I'm not telling you what the prize is, but it will be good. It won't be a crappy piece of paper. So don't worry.
It'll be a signed photo of Luke.
You really don't want to win that.
I'll chuck one in.
This is like a reverse prize.
No, well there we go. Luke's challenge then is for you to make your own Heroes of Ruin trailer.
Keep it discreet. Any distasteful entries will be scorned.
Heavily scorned.
Heavily scorned and then laughed about.
And maybe
outside.
In all seriousness, there will be a trailer very soon. So we know it's been a wait. So if you can wait a little bit longer, you'll have something very pretty to look at.
Here we go. Gogatsu says, how many dungeons are there?
Okay, so I talked last time, I think, about this, and I sort of mentioned there are effectively a sort of unlimited number because of the way things are dynamically generated within the levels. But there are kind of a sort of base set, if you like, of levels which can then kind of branch off into this infinity of possible levels. So there are 24 kind of named levels that you can go into, but every time you go into any one of those 24, the layout will be different, the enemy encounter groups will be different, the stuff they drop will be different. So it's a kind of very hard question to answer, but hopefully I'll shed a bit more light on it. There are kind of 24 named levels that you can kind of pick from the overworld map and jump into and explore, but each time they'll be a bit different. So on that last part, I can't really give you a solid number because who knows? Get some crazy mathematician in here, he could probably tell you.
X. It's always X, and if it's not X, it's N.
It's N. I like N. I'm an N man. N to the X.
Speaking of X, XX Drumcore XX says, can you elaborate on enemy types? You've already talked about having 270 odd enemy types. Are these all going to be different models, or are we going to be seeing a lot of texture covers on the same enemy models?
So this is a really great excuse for me to just waffle on now forever about our enemies, which I'm very happy to do. So we've got all kinds of different beasties in the game, and I think the first thing that is probably worth mentioning is one of the things we don't want Heroes of Ruin to descend into is a kind of just a button masher. So with all of the enemies, we're careful to give them all some kind of tactical wrinkle or some kind of special behaviour or something that affects how you best deal with them. So I'll give you a really clear example of that. In our Elder Forest environment, there are these creatures, and elsewhere there are these creatures called wraiths, and they're often very, very highly mobile character types. So they'll kind of they'll zip away from you. They can be quite hard to catch, and then they'll come shrieking in with an unblockable attack. So there are kind of two tactical aspects to that character. One, to that enemy type. One is very hard to get hold of him, and two, he has an unblockable attack. So that's an example of a kind of couple of tactical wrinkles they've got to them. And my personal favourite way of dealing with them is if you're playing as a Vindicator. You can go in there with a kind of the shoulder ram ability, where the Vindicator charges across the screen, slams into the enemies and stuns them. So these things are trying to back away, they're flying away really quickly, but the Vindicator's even faster with his ram ability. So he can slam them, stun them, and then he can follow that up with his smite ability, which is this huge overhead smash, and it actually does more damage to enemies the closer they are to death, so it's a great kind of finishing move. And often that's a kind of 1-2 combo that can put a Wraith down, or at least put them on low health. So that's one example where you can kill it a number of other ways, but that's just my kind of personal preference of a 1-2 punch combo. But it's a quick example of how the enemies kind of bring some sort of tactical element to the game, and they can do all kinds of nasty things to you. They can poison you, they can drain your energy so you can't use abilities, they can move around you, they can block, they can do unblockable attacks, they can set you on fire, they can slow you down, they can do all kinds of awful things to you. And as I say, because we want this tactical level, they can also kind of boost each other. So you can have enemy types in there who, while they're alive, all the enemies around them become tougher. They've got kind of either armour on them, or they'll do more damage, or they'll be faster. And if you can kind of get to one of these sort of controller type, booster type enemies and get rid of them first, it'll make the whole encounter a lot easier. And there are things like enemies where the more of that type of enemy are, they kind of have like a pack behaviour. The more there are, the tougher they are. So you want to kind of whittle those down really quickly. I mean, there's the list goes kind of on and on of all these different behaviours. But I wanted to talk about those behaviours just because, our enemies aren't just kind of differently coloured, different looking bags of hit points.
They don't have like hats on to differentiate them or anything like that.
No, well, I mean, that kind of brings me on to the next point. So in terms of what they actually look like, we do have for enemy variations, we do have obviously very, very different looking models and textures for different enemy types, but we do reuse enemy types, albeit with different abilities and different strengths and weaknesses, as I mentioned, to add another tactical layer. And with those, there's often texture variation kind of within an enemy class, and sometimes model variation within an enemy class, and also size variation. So taking the ichthyds, which are kind of these little fish, stocky, fishy creatures, you get tougher ones of those that have these kind of big armoured shell shields on their arms, which they take from some of the sort of giant turtles we've got in the game. They also are differently coloured and differently textured. You can also get larger ichthyds, which are tougher, and they might have the same texture, but they'll be kind of scaled up to be larger and tougher. However, within that, because obviously we've got such a wide variety of enemies, there are some where it is a case of they are recoloured, albeit with the same texture set, but they'll still have some kind of different ability or different tactical wrinkle to them. So there's a lot of different ways we handle kind of enemy reuse, but it's never just a differently coloured bag of hit points. They always do something dangerous and interesting and horrible to the characters. So you'll have to reach into your bag of tricks and your abilities to get rid of them quick.
I think we've been asked that question before, and it always reminds me of Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
And just how there's tons and tons of enemies, different colours, and
it's the green dungaree man. It's the blue dungaree man.
yeah.
So
and there's like a funny name like Bert.
or was Bread was Final Fight, I think, wasn't it? Old Bread and 2p. So there's a degree of that, but wherever possible, we do have actual variations in the models and in the textures and in the sizes, and we always have variations in behaviour or abilities or whatever else to add that tactical wrinkle.
And none of them are wearing American football helmets, and none of them are driving motorcycles that will come in and smash you.
No. They have to fly and kick off their bikes. Yeah. No, we can confirm that there are no motorbikes in Heroes of Ruin. Sorry, bike fans.
There's no playable kangaroos either.
No playable kangaroos.
It's a sad day.
Not even as a summon. No.
Okay, so we've talked about some of those a variety of characters there. Could you talk about one of the really hard ones at all? Can we hint towards?
We've got some big bosses. So
hint towards some of the bosses, maybe, or aim?
Well, one of the first bosses is the Leviathan, who's this creature from the deep, who you meet very early on in the worst possible way. I won't say any more than that. But when you do get to him, he's a big creature. So he's a screen filler, and he doesn't just fight on his own. He's got all these kind of sprouts, all these tentacles which can smack you up, spit goo at you, do all kinds of things. And he's a much tougher customer. So
It's not called a Leviathan for nothing.
No, he's not. So yeah, we have all kinds of creatures. So the more simple level, you might have something like the ghouls from the Elder Forest. They'll kind of mob you. They'll come on in large numbers. They're not particularly strong, but they do kind of charge up and vomit. They kind of projectile puke across the screen at you. So you want to kind of take them out before they do that, because that's messy. They're kind of real basic fodder type of enemy, all the way up to something like the Leviathan, which is a boss, fills the screen, has a kind of a specific pattern to his attacks and the way he deals with you, and will be a real menace and a challenge. And there's kind of everything in between. So I've got kind of elite versions of enemies, tougher, and they're kind of named, and they're often the subject of specific kind of quests and missions in the game. So there's a really big variety, and they'll all have different ways to take them down and different ways to menace the players.
That's great. So I think, guys, we will wrap it up there for this particular month. Unless there's anything you guys particularly want to add.
There's one or two. I'm going to go gorilla on you here. There's one or two things I've been picking up on from the forums that I can answer really quickly. Okay. So we did our cool kind of gunslinger reveal and talked a bit more about him.
Very popular.
And I think one or two people were saying, so what's the final look that we picked for the gunslinger? And the answer is up to the players. So all of those are customization options that you can choose. So if you want him with the ponytail, you can have him. If you want him with the hat or the hood, that's your choice. That's an example of the kind of customization that you can do right out of the gate. So you won't have to unlock those. Those are all available from the beginning. The sort of stuff that you will unlock, in air quotes, is kind of extra armor parts, weapon parts, and things like that, which you need to find from creatures or find from drops. So that's one. I think another couple of questions, if I may. People have asked about grinding. This is not a kind of a grinding game. If you want to go back into to levels to complete some of our daily or weekly challenges, to run through it with other buddies, to get some more XP and to get see if you can get that weapon or piece of loot that you really want. You can, you will get kind of stronger doing it, but we're not sort of gating the game or setting up the progress so that players have to go back and back and back to grind up to be high enough level to kind of take on the next level, next area of the game. So sort of it's elective grinding. If you really want to go back in, we're not stopping you. Because of the dynamic generation, it's always going to be fun and interesting. But at the same time, it's rare that you'll have to do that in order to progress. I mean, maybe if you've been kind of running around every monster and try not to get into scraps and try not to get into fights, then you may have missed out on some XP. Or if you've been ignoring side quests, then you may need to go back in a few times to level up. But it's definitely not, by any stretch of the imagination, what you'd call a grinding game. And then the last point, if I may, is someone talked about ways to heal, which I think is a really good question. Yeah. I think that what they were getting at there is sometimes you feel like you have to take a healing class, or if you're playing in a party, someone has to be the healer class. And it feels like almost a kind of choice is taken away from you because it's like a must-have. So the answer is that I think almost all classes have some way of healing themselves or others around them. So, for example, the gunslinger is really money-oriented, and he's got a kind of ability called blood money, and he'll actually heal up a bit every time he gets his hands on some coins. He's just that happy. He feels that much better about himself that he heals up a little bit. We talked about the Sacred Circle earlier that the Vindicator has. The Architect's got some spells that can return health. So everyone's got ways of healing themselves, and in some cases other people. But you also find health potions throughout the game, which you can use to heal. So no one has to be relegated to just being the party healer, and all they do is busy themselves with that. So hopefully that answers your question, and hopefully you're happy to hear it. So I think that's it. I'm going to pop out from my little gorilla bunker. I've stolen a load of questions from the forums and trodden all over Kevin's toes. But hopefully that's
fine by me. It's because the questions answers for the guys. That's great. Anyway, that's all for us for this month's podcast.
Yeah, send more questions.
Send more questions. There'll be a topic up in the forum. Make sure you sign up for that. Also, of course, we've got the Heroes of Ruin Facebook. It's a whole new concept.
Yep.
Facebook.com/Heroes of Ruin. Please like that. And you can also, if you happen to be a Twitter person, We've got twitter.com/moresels, MORESELS, which is the Square Enix London Studios Twitter account, where you'll have me basically talking about Heroes of Ruin and tweeting things and saying hello. So until next time, it's time to say goodbye from me, from Alice.
Auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
And from Luke.
Bye. Sayonara.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir.
Bye-bye.
See you next time, guys. Bye for now.